Right, everybody, if you've never seen the original Twilight Zone, it is on Netflix. And by original, I mean the black and white one, not the like 2000s Forrest Whitaker version. That was okay, but we're going old school with this. And we're going to be watching that from the beginning to the end. We watched the first episode this week, and we're going to talk about that.
So, there's a lot of episodes, and I would have told you just from watching it on marathons and shit like that I remember most of them or something like that. I did not remember this episode at all.
I was going to say, I've never seen the first episode, apparently.
And I can't,
I don't think they were aired in order anyway.
I was just going to say, I don't know if this is a case of, now that they're compiled, they're put in a certain order, but they didn't air in that order. I think during marathons, they only re-aired the same subset or whatever the fuck.
Probably.
But I expected to have some weird conjuring things. There's a scene where he, runs into a mirror, and I've seen that scene used in stuff, in little, super clips of, a bunch of awesome, old shit or something like that.
Sure.
But I did not remember this episode at all.
No, it didn't ring a bell, and it went in directions I was like, oh. So, the premise of this episode is a man's, walking down the street, and he has, amnesia. He doesn't know anything about himself.
Yeah.
And he can't seem to find anybody. He walks into a diner, and there's no one there, but, shit keeps being where, somebody was just here.
Someone had to have been just there.
There's a tea kettle that is brewing on the stove there, and there's tea in it. So if it were not just done, it would have been just burned to the bottom and have nothing.
And the jukebox is playing, which means that he just.
That's the neighbor. The neighbor's mowing or some shit.
I'm like, whose phone is vibrating? Someone's cutting a tree down or something. I hope you can't hear that. That's why I'm distracted. Yeah, no, it's the jukebox is playing, but then stops, which means someone just put a quarter in. So you're like, what the fuck? Later there's a cigarette. Later there's all these things where you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's as in all Twilight Zones, you're trying to guess. You're like, what is this? What is happening? What is it?
Did you have guesses?
I did have guesses.
Yes.
Do you want to go over guesses before we go into what actually happened?
I don't know. So I took notes as I often do, and I ended up, because these are short, they're 20-something minutes long episodes. I ended up writing down everything that happened.
Okay.
Because I basically really liked this. It's like a one-man show, and he ends up just shouting and then giving you information, and then he talks to the mirror and gives you information.
Yeah.
And he's on the phone and gives you information, and it's this awesome the ending disappointed me. Spoilers for what's coming ahead.
Yes.
But
in my head, I have a much better, and we'll go over that soon.
But the quality of the making of the thing really impressed me. The music and the shots, and it's that old school acting and old school filmmaking and all that stuff. It was super refreshing, because there were little dumb moments that really made me feel something and get something out of it. Where I was just today that would bore me in 4K with crane shots and CG or something. It would totally bore me or whatever. But something about the purity and the thespianness of this really
great acting
resonated
is
with me.
in these old things is just it's amazing. And there's nothing in this realm I'm Oscar worthy. It's amazing. But just because you were shooting on something that was so expensive, people really rehearsed things, and it was locked down and perfect.
Yeah.
And I always
that's all I
and
mean.
love that.
And he says some goofy stuff, and there's weird choices and over the top things, and certain stuff you cut, and you're like, okay, they didn't have something there or something weird like that. But just in general, minute to minute when there's no reason to, just people delivering their lines. How are you doing? And just talking, and you're like, this is crisp and good, and this feels good to watch, and it's nostalgic and all that shit. I approve of this,
So, what did you think was happening in this?
So you've just watched the episode, because that's what we're going to assume or something like that. By the time he gets to the mannequin lady, and they hang on the shot of the truck or the sign where it says Resnick's mannequin shop or something, and I was like, oh, he's a mannequin or something like that. Where I was like, what's going on? Because I think there's another Twilight Zone where it turns out that all the characters are mannequins or something like that.
Okay, so you were thinking that's what that was?
And I was like,
how did that
okay,
make sense for what's happening? So he's the last man on Earth, and he's a mannequin?
Yes, because in the mannequin world, they come to life, but the people are people, and the mannequins are not people or something. I don't know. They would have explained it later, but that's the point.
Okay.
Is I had a vague memory of an episode of the Twilight Zone where everyone turned out to be a mannequin or a doll or something like that, and I thought, well, I couldn't remember this episode, so this must have been it or something like that.
Okay. My thought, and I had a two-parter almost thought on this. They hang on a shot of an obstetrician for a long time. And like it's probably only like a 2-second shot, but it hangs just long enough for you to be like, I
Well-
read that already, and it's still on it.
And he like reacts to it and freaks out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had a thought at that moment where I was like, is he like blind in a way that he can't see people? Like, are there
Ooh.
people happening around him and he just can't see them? And then I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. Is he like out of phase? Is he in like a different plane, or is he dead? And like he's just in the world and all the people are there, and potentially it was going to cut at the end to people reacting to him doing things around them.
Yeah. No, because he's wearing. So he's all right. I had that thought too. Are the people there, but he can't interact with them or see them for some reason? And he's wearing a jumpsuit. And,
Yeah.
And before he says like Air Force or something like that, I thought that jumpsuit could have meant like he's some sort of like prisoner or workman or astronaut, or this isn't even Earth, or it's like a weird like all these all the usual possibilities or something like that, which made it all the more crushing when you actually get to like the real ending or something like that. Real quick, I just want to, before we even get there, I mentioned the ice cream shop where he talks to himself. I really
Sure.
liked that. There's a fucking thing. He's at the police station and he goes to like the jail cells and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, like the water's still running and somebody was just about to shave or something like that. There's all these, and like the lit cigarette and all these things. And this brilliant thing. The jail cell door starts to close, and he notices the shadow on the wall of it closing,
Yeah.
and freaks out and like runs over. But it's not like the phone booth being locked or something like that. He just pushes it, but then it like makes him like panicked or whatever. And something about that moment was like so fucking real. Like that shit happens in like real life when it's like dark and you're scared or something's happening when you're like a kid. Something totally normal that ends up not being a problem at all would like escalate your like level of panic or something like that. And I really bought it. It was like really good. And like the shadow and like the framing of it, I was like, that was really well done. Thank you. This is awesome. I was really happy.
Now, what would you do if this scenario was happening to you?
I just find a place to chill and hang out, enjoy
Like,
my life forever.
If I was actually the last person on Earth, but all the things and stuff were still around, like the phone was still working, the jukebox worked, there's electricity, there's still like, running water and power. It's not the worst thing.
No, it's totally fine.
At a certain point, I'd be like, well, this is horrible. But I think that point would be like years.
Yeah, I mean, my concern would be that all the people would suddenly come back. So I'd be like,
And you're just like in your underwear in the
Yeah.
president's office, like,
Right,
oh,
I'm just like-
sorry.
I'm just like naked, hanging out, doing whatever. Like poor choices all around. Because then you'd be like arrested or whatever. And I would totally be like, how is the power still working? Like, what's even going on? There's no people to run the power plant. This is gonna stop. I'd probably like immediately start gathering and hoarding and fortifying some location or something like that.
For the inevitable zombies that are coming.
Who knows where those people went? Maybe while you were sleeping, they went to like zombie school where they're learning how to become zombies.
Yeah. I do like the it's very telling of the time period. He's like, I got $2.85. Paying customer here.
Oh yeah, no, that was awesome. And I'm hungry. American. I'm an American apparently. I was like, what? And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But I really hated actually how he says, I have $2.85 American, but he's holding only bills. And I
Yeah.
was like, do you have an 85-cent bill, motherfucker? What the fuck?
I'm sure he just didn't take the coins out of his pocket.
I'm sure too, but I still don't like that. He's like flaunting his money.
And he does eat like a piece of sausage or something while he's like saying that. So
Yeah.
I'm like, he's stealing.
Well, yeah, so not that it was prisoner garb, but like the jumpsuit, and I was like, oh, did he escape from like a facility where he was being kept or something? And this is like the fake mock-up town where they do like their tests on these people, like all these different theories about things or something like that. were happening at that
getting
point.
closer to that ending, I was hoping for things like when he broke the mirror and it leaves, I thought there was going to be like that was a two-way mirror and there were people watching him
Yes.
or anything remotely good.
Like it's a
something.
test thing.
Yeah, like so. You want to just jump to the spoiler here? Or do you have more bits in the
There's
middle?
nothing else in the build-up, I think, right?
The thing ends and he's just what is the thing he's pushing? What is that button? It's across the street. What is that thing?
Yeah, he's like, please help me, or like,
Yeah, he's
I
freaking
like,
out.
I want to wake up or something like
He's
that.
hitting the button, and the button ends like it cuts in. Now he's inside like a little box, and the
Yeah.
box has a button, and the button's like I'm fucking dying in here, and he's just been in this solitary state for what
And-
did they say 400 days or something?
484 hours. That's 2.5 weeks.
484 hours.
You'd be a mess by that time. No, like the fucking acting, the fucking awesome. It's horrible, but it's awesome. No,
Yeah.
but like real quick filmmaking thing, he breaks a clock really
Yeah.
early, and that's the broken clock in the test chamber.
Yes.
And I love shit like that. But yeah, he's just in a box.
I like that too because presumably he broke that clock like right before he hit the button. But because you're like in a dream state, there's like it's like when you wake up and like that was only a second. How the hell did that work?
Like the lightning that you heard in the thing is part of the dream, but
Yeah.
then there was like, no, I dreamt like years after that. It's like, oh my god. Yeah.
No, it's cool stuff. But it was very very much like a cop out of an ending where like it was just like no, he was just in there preparing to go to the moon. We had to see how he would do solitarily.
Yeah. And he talks to the moon like, I'll get you. Next time it'll be real, and I'll get you. Or something. Where you're like, what the fuck?
He wasn't even, but like it's weird because he wasn't even dreaming about like going to the moon. He was just having like a crazy fever dream.
No, and like Rod Serling or the Rod Serling alike comes in and says like, lurking out there, the greatest enemy of all, the enemy of isolation, or something like that.
Yeah.
And the whole thing of like we can pump in chemicals and like simulate this and pump out the waste materials, but we can't substitute man's need for companionship for to ward off the loneliness or whatever the fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
weird.
Very weird.
And, like I'm so jaded to like twists and weird shit and all the stuff that has happened in the last 50 years, what is it, 40 years, that I was still waiting for like the real twist because those army men were like looking at each other weird and I thought they were gonna haul them off or something else was gonna happen at the end. Because the twist couldn't have just been that none of that was real. There had to be like an actual like sinister.
That was the full twist.
Turnaround. I know, and that was the letdown because I didn't know when to pull the brakes on the find the twist train. So I was still up until the last minute. He's talking to the moon, and I'm like, something's gonna happen. There's gonna be a twist.
The moon's gonna open its eyes and say, "No, you won't."
Right, it's gonna be something, or like he wakes up again, or like that's really a fake thing too, or like he's talking to the moon, and then he comes back and everyone's gone, or something like something's gonna happen.
That would have been interesting.
And nothing happened.
No, it wasn't the best episode of Twilight Zone, but again, it was the first episode, so it ramps up from there. And I remember even later seasons of this show where some episodes where I'm like, that was so good, and other ones were like,
that's it?
What the hell was that episode?
That's it? Cabbages? What the fuck?
Yeah. But I'm interested in going this, further. We're going to be watching.
Did you have some
lots.
Predictions or ways that it should have ended or something?
I would have preferred if he was in a simulation for something and they would explain some cool thing they were trying to test.
Oh, the thing here with the two-way mirror. And
yeah.
Okay.
Or if he was just dead and it's
yes.
you can't interact with the living. You're seeing echoes of whatever. But they're it would or the whole he's out of phase and But I like the idea of them being able to see him, and he just couldn't see them. So he's talking, and someone talking back. You gonna answer me there, buddy? Hey, you got to pay for that coffee. What are you doing? And he's just like a crazy person.
Right, he's just barreling through, or they can't see him, but they can see what he's doing. So the coffee's just pouring itself. Or
I like the
like
idea of though he's just mentally out of phase, so his
okay.
body is there, and they can see him,
yes.
and he just doesn't see anything else.
Yeah, I thought for a minute that he might be frozen in time, so that kind of like Langelier's dumb shit style, where the people are in the present, but all their stuff and the jukebox was still playing or whatever,
sure.
and he's stuck there doing that stuff or whatever, with that lit cigarette is still there or something weird, something weird like that.
Yeah,
they dropped a bomb. They must have.
It was a lot creepier than it ended up being, because it was it's just his mind. He's just a thing. And, there's foreshadowing. He flips through the book turntile, and it all says Last Man on Earth.
I know, yeah. No, he makes a comment once, I must be the most imaginative person on Earth, because no one's ever had a dream this complete, or something like that.
Well, yeah, because
all these
he
details
was dreaming,
and stuff.
what was it, the full basketball, or what was, he was dreaming, multiple teams and players or
the
something?
Scores and, the baseball season or something like that. I know. No, I think this was pretty good and pretty, indicative of the whole thing, because, there's gonna be this like Futurama made fun of it, where they have a show within the show,
sure.
and it's we've put together all the most deadliest, horrible creatures on Earth to create the most deadly thing, and then a dude walks out and says, "Turns out it's man," or whatever the fuck, and just spoiling what used to pass for a crazy twist and a super oh shit moment. I think even just because we've spent decades consuming, media that's been influenced by the Twilight Zone alone.
Sure.
If not just like culture moving forward on top of that. We're going to have a lot of these like well done, good acted, interesting, things that end in like an underwhelming way. I feel like that's our future here.
Well, it's like every miniseries that ever existed. Like it's really good, really good, really good. But you watch it because like the first 90% you're like, this is awesome. And like you don't need something to be 100% good because not everything can be 100% good. To have anything be at all a little good is worth your time. And Twilight Zone has always been a hit or miss, but they're usually entertaining for a little bit.
No,
or at least put an idea in your head that's interesting.
Oh yeah, I didn't even mean it like a super negative. It's just gonna be like revisiting it now. That's how it's gonna like feel.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, oh. But that's even interesting in and of itself. Like this may have blown people's minds at the time. Is that possible? I can't even imagine that. It blows my mind to think that this used to blow people's minds. And maybe this did. Maybe they're like, that sucked. I knew it's only a dream. That's ridiculous.
I think you were still at a time where people were like, moving pictures are the shit,
right?
And like anything that was production value was good.
What year was this made? Had we gone to the moon? Were we like about to go to the moon? Had we just gone to the moon? Like what just happened?
This was before we went to the moon.
This was before we went to the moon.
We went to the moon in '69. This would have been like 60 or something.
Right? This was much earlier. I hope.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
So a lot of that too, right? We have to think about it in terms of like the context of the situation. Like some of these episodes are going to be amazing.
Well, they're before their time, yeah.
Yeah, because people had the ability or like the power to do things or like devices that would do things. Whereas now we're like, it's called a cell phone or whatever the fuck. But there's going to be episodes that like revolve around this concept of like we can track where anyone is at any time or something like that. It's like, no shit, motherfucker, GPS. But like, yeah, that's like Not unexpected, but I didn't fully appreciate it until this episode with its twist or whatever.
Sure.
Not really being a twist.
The Twilight Zone aired originally in 1959.
Fucking A.
So yeah, we had not we were probably talking about it.
That's
but
what
we
I mean, right?
Yet,
there were like theories, and we might have put a monkey up sometime in the early '60s. I don't even know.
I think the monkey went up like 5 years before we went up.
Yeah. So like, fuck, dude. So like, that's a whole component to this. This like experimental testing of like how can a man possibly endure in like a tiny box in space? There's no way to get out, right? And like now we're just like, I don't know, just the same way I endure being in my bedroom for fucking 3 days in a row. Fuck you.
It's like interesting, especially when you think about the time, and I think a lot of people are not doing that. But yeah, so we're gonna be checking out a lot more Twilight Zones.
Get zoned, motherfucker.